Have you ever asked yourself, why me? Why did the pain hit you harder than others? Why do you carry battles inside you that nobody sees, battles you've never spoken of, but they never seem to stop waging? Let me tell you something most people will never hear. You're not under attack because you're weak, you're under attack because you're awakening. And the moment you started remembering who you truly are, that's when the enemy got terrified. Because darkness doesn't fight. What doesn't threaten it? It fights the light. And chosen one, that's what you are. A carrier of divine light. A threat to everything that thrives in shadow. You didn't click this video by mistake. This message was sent to find you. Your spirit called this in. And the universe, it answered. Engagement CTA. If your soul knows this message is for you, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and type 777 in the comments. Because your enemies are about to witness the rise they tried to bury. For years you felt different, misunderstood, alone. But here's the sacred truth. You were never alone. You were hidden in plain sight, covered by the divine, not because you were forgotten, but because the time wasn't right. Your gifts were too powerful to be released prematurely, so the universe wrapped you in silence, in storms, in wilderness. And during those silent years, when it felt like you were forgotten, something was happening. Heaven was building you, brick by sacred brick, layer by sacred layer. You were being refined in the fire, shaped in shadows, made ready for the moment your voice would shake realms. And this is that moment. Your awakening is not just about remembering the truth. It's about reclaiming the territory that was stolen from you. Because when you start remembering who you are, the energy shifts. Your presence disturbs rooms. Your silence speaks louder than their noise. Your light, even when dimmed, still burns too bright for those who are asleep. The enemy has tried to convince you that your isolation was rejection, that your delay was denial, that your quiet seasons were signs of failure. But hear this clearly. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. You were never being delayed. You were being developed. You were never being rejected. You were being redirected. You were the prophecy they feared would come to life. You were the whisper that grew into a roar. You were the memory that darkness tried to erase. And now you are remembering. Picture this. A soul sleeping in a cage of forgetfulness. A light curled inside. Dimmed. Not dead. Then one day, something breaks. The cage cracks. The memory returns. And the light, it doesn't flicker. It erupts. That's what's happening in you right now. This isn't new. It's ancient. You are not becoming powerful. You've always been. You're just remembering what heaven encoded in your DNA. And the more you remember, the more scared your enemies become. Because no weapon formed against you ever truly prospered. It only made you sharper, wiser, hungrier. And now, the same voice that trembled in silence will speak with fire. The same heart that broke in the dark will radiate truth. You are not who you were. And this is where your true awakening begins. Why did everyone leave when you needed them most? Why did the ones you trusted fall silent when your soul was breaking? Why did it seem like you had to walk through the darkest nights alone? Let me give you the truth they never told you. You weren't abandoned, you were hidden. You weren't cast out, you were carved out, separated for a purpose too big for their presence. See, when heaven marks you, it doesn't just bless you, it begins a process of divine subtraction. Because where you're going, not everyone can follow. You were wondering why relationships crumbled, why the love grew cold, why invitations stopped arriving. But this wasn't rejection, it was protection. If you've ever walked through a season where everyone disappeared, type "I'm still standing" in the comments, because even in the silence, you were being strengthened. In the natural, it looked like isolation. In the spiritual, it was initiation. God had to quiet the noise, so you could hear the whisper. He had to strip the false connections, so you could remember what truth felt like. He had to dim the outer world, so your inner light could start to glow again. And yes, it hurt. Yes, you cried. Yes, you felt forgotten. But chosen one, your pain was not wasted. Every tear was a seed, Every lonely night was a sacred cocoon. You weren't exiled, you were being exalted in private, because before God reveals someone publicly, He refines them privately. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared for power, for purpose, for prophetic positioning. And those people you mourned, they weren't bad, they were just not meant to carry the weight of your future. They were not called to where your soul is ascending. Some of them were assignments, temporary. Some of them were tests, revealing what needed to be removed. Some of them were mirrors, reflecting what still needed healing. And once their purpose was complete, the divine hand moved them, because the anointing on your life required isolation. You were too gifted to stay where you were, too awakened to stay in shallow waters, too bright to stay dimmed by their comfort zones. So heaven called you away into the wilderness, into the silence, into the sacred place where transformation begins. That quiet season, it was not a delay, it was design, because in the silence, you found His voice. In the stillness you discovered your own strength. Your enemies thought the isolation would break you, but it built you. They thought the silence would crush you, but it sharpened you. They thought the loneliness would bury you, but it birthed a version of you they'll never be able to ignore. You don't walk the same, you don't think the same, you don't trust the same, because once you've been pruned by the divine, you don't go back to fake light and empty noise. You now recognize what alignment feels like. You now value solitude, because you know that's where God meets you most. And here's what heaven wants you to hear right now. You were protected for a purpose. That closed door, protection. That unanswered call, redirection. That betrayal, revelation. Because if those people stayed, they would have slowed you down. They would have distracted your focus. They would have polluted your anointing. So heaven snatched them away, and you mourned. But that grief became the ground where you started rising. You are not bitter. You are wiser. You are not hardened. You are holier. You carry silence now, but it's sacred. You walk alone now, but you walk with power. Because in that isolation, you met the real you. The one that doesn't shrink. The one that doesn't explain. The one that doesn't apologize for being chosen. They couldn't recognize your value, but heaven always did. And that's why you were hidden for such a time as this. Because what you carry now, it's too powerful for the wrong hands. It's too sacred for the unprepared. It's too heavy for the ones who only came for your light but never stayed through your dark. So you walked alone, but you were never without God. You were never without grace. You were never without destiny, walking beside you. And now, the same silence that once hurt you, is the silence that now protects you. The same isolation that once felt like death, is the womb that birthed your power. You are not broken, you are becoming. And this is where your true awakening begins. Have you ever wondered why your life never felt ordinary? Why you sensed things others ignored? Why you felt emotions that didn't belong to you? Why your presence, even in silence, carried weight? Let me tell you a truth you already know in your spirit. You've always been marked. This isn't new, it's just now, you're finally remembering. Type "I knew it" in the comments if you felt this all your life, even when no one believed you. Since childhood, the signs were there, but the world told you to ignore them. 1. You felt too deeply. When others laughed, you wept. When others passed by suffering, you stopped, and your heart broke. You were called too sensitive, too soft, too dramatic. But you weren't weak. You were wired to feel what most people numb, because you are a healer, an empath, a mirror for the wounded. 2. You saw dreams that came true. You dismissed it as déjà vu, but heaven has been whispering to you, in symbols, in visions, in pieces of the future. You didn't just imagine it, you received it. Prophetic insight is encoded in your soul. You are not just a dreamer, you are a seer. 3. You were always the black sheep, the misunderstood one, the one they left out, the one that didn't fit, and that was never a curse. It was the universe pulling you out of the crowd, so you could hear your calling. You were not made to blend in. You were made to break cycles. 4. You kept seeing the same numbers. 1111, 77, 444. You noticed them on clocks, receipts, license plates. They weren't coincidences. They were divine fingerprints, proof that you're in alignment. Heaven's way of saying, keep going, chosen one. You're close. 5. You were always alone, even in a room full of people, because the crowd couldn't carry the depth you live in. Your soul was too ancient to play small. Solitude wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every quiet season was God tuning you to his frequency. 6. People opened up to you, even strangers. They felt safe, they felt seen, because your presence was never just human, it was divine. Even when you were broken, your energy still healed. Even when you were empty, your words poured light, because your gift has never been about what you have, it's about who you are. 7. You knew when danger was near, not from logic, but from knowing. Your spirit said no before your mind caught up. You avoided pain you couldn't explain. That voice inside you, that wasn't anxiety, that was alignment. God has been walking ahead of you this entire time. These signs, they didn't just happen, they were heaven's breadcrumbs, clues left behind to remind you that you're not random, you're not forgotten, you're not imagining things, you are awakened, you are aligned, you are an answered prayer walking in human form. The world may not see it, but the spiritual realm always has. That's why the warfare was so intense. That's why people either cling to you or fear you. Your light exposes shadows, even when you're quiet. Chosen one, you were born with this vibration, and it's getting stronger. They labeled you, they doubted you, they laughed when you cried, but heaven documented every tear, every ache, every moment you questioned your worth, because you had to forget, so you could remember. You had to feel lost, so you'd rediscover your divine GPS. And now, you're remembering, not who they told you to be, but who you've always been. You are not just waking up, you're being reintroduced to your own power. The same signs they told you to ignore are now proof of your calling. You don't need more evidence. The signs have always been there. You're just finally seeing them through awakened eyes. And this is where your divine clarity begins. This is where you stop explaining and start walking in authority, because the world is about to see what heaven always knew. And this is where your true awakening begins. What if I told you, the very thing you've been searching for, the power you've been chasing, the purpose that kept you up at night, was never missing. It was just buried, under pain, under trauma, under the lies they told you about yourself. Comment. It was never lost, if you're ready to reclaim what's always been inside you. You see, the world taught you to shrink, to stay small, to second-guess that gut feeling, to doubt your light. But chosen one, you were never ordinary. You were just covered, because sacred things are hidden, not to be forgotten, but to be revealed at the right time. That intuition that saved you from disaster, that ability to walk into a room and feel the entire atmosphere shift, the way people confide in you like they've known you forever. That's not luck, that's not coincidence. That's your gift. The world called it too much. They called you emotional, sensitive, delusional, but they couldn't name it, because they couldn't carry it. You were chosen to carry a frequency this world has no language for. Your words, they carry healing. Your silence, it speaks volumes. Your energy, it rearranges things in the spirit realm. Even when you were broken, you still helped others heal. Even when you felt lost, you still gave people directions. That's not weakness. That's what it means to be anointed. Let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how creativity flows through you when no one's watching? How you get downloads, ideas, visions, gut pulls, and they don't come from you but through you. That's not imagination. That's spiritual transmission. Your gift might not look like a spotlight. It might look like stillness, like peace, like discernment, like walking away from chaos and knowing that was the real power. You were always powerful. You just didn't know how powerful, because you were trained to believe the opposite. They told you your dreams were too big, that your standards were too high, that your vision was unrealistic. But here's the divine truth. Your gift threatened their comfort, so they labeled it, mocked it, dismissed it. And you, like so many chosen ones, believed them. You buried your gift under a You dimmed your light to fit in rooms that couldn't hold your brilliance. You shrunk to make others comfortable. But the gift never left you. It just went quiet, waiting for you to remember. Like a diamond covered in dust, still radiant, still priceless, still The enemy didn't attack you because you were weak. He attacked you because he saw your potential before you did. He knew the weight of your voice. He knew what would happen if you ever fully woke up. That's why the battles came, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the cycles of life. They weren't sent to destroy you. They were distractions meant to keep you from your becoming. But here's the prophecy. What was hidden is now being revealed. Your gift is rising. And with it your authority. You're not just waking up to your power. You're waking up to your assignment. You're not here to fit in. You're here to ignite, to activate, to be the reminder in a world full of amnesia. This is why the fire didn't burn you. It refined you. This is why the silence didn't kill you. It prepared you. This is why every delay wasn't denial. It was divine calibration. Now, you're no longer begging for clarity. You are the clarity. You don't chase approval. You walk in conviction. Because your gift is no longer hiding. It's glowing. And the same world that overlooked you, they're about to witness what heaven has always known. That what looked like stillness was strategy. What looked like loss was protection. What looked like a breakdown was a setup for your breakthrough. Chosen one, you carry a divine blueprint, a vibration that shifts timelines, a voice that awakens nations. You don't need a stage, you are the revelation. The world has been waiting, but now the wait is over, because your gift, the one you couldn't see, it's standing in front of the mirror now, and it's glowing. This is where your true alignment begins. Chosen one, you didn't get attacked because of your past. You got attacked because of your future. The enemy saw who you were becoming long before you did. He saw the awakening before you ever opened your eyes. And that's why the battle wasn't random. It was targeted. Type "I was attacked because I carry light" in the comments if you feel this deep in your spirit. Let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how the moment you started healing, everything around you seemed to fall apart? The moment you pulled away from toxic people, they came back stronger. The moment you stopped begging for love, loneliness screamed louder. The moment you finally said, "I know who I am," doubt crept in like a thief in the night. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual warfare. Because light disrupts darkness. And you, chosen one, are light in motion. The fire that surrounded you wasn't meant to burn you. It was sent to test if you would remember who you are inside the heat. And you did. You didn't just survive, you transformed. But understand this. The moment your gift activates, the warfare intensifies. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start declaring, "This is happening because of what's inside me." It wasn't just bad luck, it was resistance. Because the enemy fears what you're carrying, he fears your voice, your obedience, your anointing. And that fear is what made you a target. You thought the depression was weakness? No. It was an ambush. You thought the cycles of delay were failure? No. They were designed to distract your becoming. The enemy couldn't destroy your gift, so he tried to destroy your belief in it. He wanted you to silence yourself, to doubt your instincts, to play small so no one would ever see the fire you were born with. But he failed because you kept rising. You cried, but you didn't quit. You questioned, but you didn't give up. You bled in silence, but still held space for others to heal. And that is what the enemy never saw coming. You see, the battle was never about where you are now. It was about where you're going. It was about stopping the version of you that was about to shake atmospheres. The one that doesn't beg for approval. The one that walks in kingdom authority. Picture this. The version of you that wakes up without fear, speaks with fire, moves with divine clarity. That version scared hell. Because you were never average. You were armored, trained in silence, refined through pain, chosen in obscurity, and now, activated in purpose. You don't belong in circles where gossip lives. You don't survive in atmospheres filled with doubt. You are called to shift nations. You're the one who breaks cycles, heals lineages, and walks into rooms carrying heaven's echo. But every warrior must be tested, and your test was survival without applause. You were trained in secret, anointed in the cave, built in the wilderness. Because God knew you couldn't step into destiny with wounds still open. So he allowed the betrayal, the silence, the delays, not to punish you, but to purge you. You didn't lose your way. You were being rerouted to destiny. You weren't disqualified. You were being qualified through fire. This isn't self-help. This is spiritual revelation. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. And now, it's you're not who you used to be. You don't carry what you used to carry. And the voices of doubt that once ruled your mind, now tremble when you speak your truth. Let that sink in. You are not rising. You have already risen. The attacks didn't break you. They broke open the part of you that had been silent for too long. The version of you the world is about to meet. That's the one the enemy never wanted to be born. But prophecy doesn't bow to opposition. It pierces it. You are prophecy in motion. You are light in dark place. You are a walking answer to a generational prayer. So hear this now. You're not fighting for your future. You're becoming it. You're not battling to arrive. You are activating what was buried under pain, lies, and generational silence. Let this part of the journey be your declaration. I survived not because I was lucky, but because I was called. I carry something that the darkness tried to cancel but heaven revived. And the world, the very people who misread you, underestimated you, ignored you, they are about to witness what only God could build in secret. This is the battle you were born to win. And now, this is where your assignment begins. There's a moment in your journey, chosen one, when you stop asking, "Am I ready?" and you start declaring, "I was born for this." That moment is now. Type, "I am ready," in the comments if your spirit knows you're stepping into something divine, because this is no longer about potential. This is about activation. For years, you held back, not because you lacked power, but because you were waiting for the release signal from heaven. And now, heaven has spoken. Your assignment isn't something you find, it's something you remember, and you're remembering now. You used to walk into rooms, wondering if you belonged. Now the room feels your presence before you speak a word. You used to shrink. Now your energy expands beyond physical walls. You were silenced. Now your truth speaks louder than ever. This is the shift. This is the divine transition from wounded to weaponized, from waiting to walking in it. You no longer follow frequency. You set it. You don't ask for permission to shine. You embody light, because the attacks didn't break you. They revealed you. You've always been this. You've always been chosen. The only difference now is you finally believe it. Feel that. That's the weight of destiny resting on your shoulders, and this time, you're strong enough to carry it. Not everyone was meant to understand you, because your calling is not common, it's cosmic. You were assigned to awaken others, but first, you had to awaken yourself. And you did. You broke out of the mold they tried to keep you in. You left behind the versions of you that kept peace at the cost of purpose. You no longer chase validation. You are divinely validated. God didn't call you to survive. He called you to lead. You are a voice for the voiceless, a healer for the broken, a guide for those still trapped in the storms you already walked through. You don't just know pain, you've mastered its language. You don't just carry light, you've learned to wield it with precision. That's what happens when heaven activates you. You become unstoppable. You speak, and the atmosphere shifts. You move, and timelines adjust. You show up, and chains start breaking in the unseen. Because when the assignment activates, you don't just live, you become a message. Your energy begins preaching before your mouth even opens. People will wonder what changed, what clicked, why everything suddenly feels magnetic. And the answer is simple. You aligned with your purpose, with your truth, with the divine blueprint that was written before you were even born. Chosen one, you are not confused anymore. You are clear, and with clarity comes power. You now understand that every delay was divine construction. Every silence was sacred instruction. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. And now you're in your season of execution. You've been poured into, now you pour. You've been trained in the dark, now you light the way. You've been whispered to by the divine, now your voice carries the thunder of prophecy. Do you feel it? The shift in your walk, the fire in your chest, the certainty in your soul. This is not ego, this is activation. This is not arrogance, this is divine readiness. You are not the same, you are now the version of yourself that your old self prayed for. the version the enemy hoped you'd never become. You were underestimated because you were hidden, but now you've been revealed. And with that revelation comes responsibility to show up, to speak boldly, to move prophetically, to live like the light you carry is the only thing keeping the darkness from winning. You are chosen, you are walking in divine alignment, you are unstoppable. So walk with your head high, speak with heaven's authority, move like your footsteps are guided by fire and favor, because they are. This is your assignment, this is your moment, this is your divine confirmation. And now, this is where your revelation begins. There's a reason why they tried to break you, why they laughed at your silence, dismissed your pain, misread your absence as weakness. There's a reason why the enemy came for you harder than anyone else. It's not because you were small, it's because you were strategic. You were heaven's secret weapon. And now the world will see why. They're about to witness the rise they never expected. They're about to see the prophecy fulfilled through you. Because chosen one, you didn't lose. You were launched. You weren't cast out. You were set apart. You weren't overlooked. You were overprepared. You weren't late. You were aligned. This entire time, you were being written into a testimony so powerful, it had to be hidden until the moment was right. And now, heaven is saying, reveal that, let the record show. You were never just a survivor. You were a revelation waiting to be released. That's why the wilderness was so long. That's why the warfare was so brutal. Because the enemy knew, once you rose, the world would never be the same again. You've carried the fire. You've walked through storms. You've cried into pillows and still got up to shine. And now, every tear, every delay, every betrayal is about to make sense. You didn't go through all that to stay quiet, to stay small, to stay afraid. You went through all that so that when the light hit you, the world would finally see what heaven always knew, that you are the one, the breaker of cycles, the shifter of timelines, the light bearer for generations. You are not rising, you've already risen, and the world, it will have no choice but to pay attention, because your energy will enter rooms before you do, because your voice will carry the weight of divine thunder, because your presence will be felt even in your silence. You are the walking prophecy, the one whose footsteps have been marked by purpose, the one who doesn't just walk with favor, but pulls miracles in their wake. So when they ask, who is this? Where did they come from? How did this happen? Let heaven answer, this is the chosen, this is the one we kept hidden, the one we trained in fire, the one we released in perfect timing. And to you, beloved soul, let this be your final affirmation. You are not broken. You are born of fire. You are not hidden. You were held until heaven said now. You are not becoming. You have become. You are not waiting. You are walking in it. And you are not ordinary. You are chosen, marked, and unleashed. And now the world will see. If this message felt like it was speaking directly to your soul, it was. You didn't find this video. This video found you. You are ready. You are rising. And something big is about to shift in your life. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and type 77 in the comments if you believe you'll receive good news within the next 7 days. This isn't the end. This is where your new story begins.
These 2 videos on your screen aren't random. The divine guides them. Click to watch both. They hold something special for you.